Whitney, I don't know if these words will ever make their way to you. It feels a bit like they're like something I'm setting down on a slow-moving river, hoping the current carries them to wherever you are. Sometimes I think these messages might drift sort of the way Japanese lanterns do, soft, unhurried, not expecting anything, just hoping to be a small light in the sky. There's something peaceful, but also a little sad about sending these kinds of messages without knowing if you will ever receive them. But maybe that's why I keep writing and speaking these things to you, because words never die, and maybe these will live long enough to cross your path someday, to become one of those love poems nobody reads anymore, but still humming softly between the lines. But you don't know me yet, and that's okay for now, but I can hope. These are in some ways messages asking for everything, for your hand in marriage. But in some ways, I also sort of hope that they are like messages that aren't asking for anything at all. Just like a small warmth that I'm sending in your direction, sort of the way somebody might place a blanket over the back of a chair in case someone gets cold. I guess what I'm really saying is, I hope you're okay tonight. I hope you laughed today at least once. I hope something small surprised you in a good way. And I hope that the world was gentle enough for you to breathe without thinking about it too much. Gentle in the way that yellow, if it were a person, spills over the horizon after a stretch of long, dark months. And sometimes I catch myself wondering what your evening looks like, in that soft, wondering way that people do when they hope that another human being, although in this case, about you, about whom I am head over heels, but hoping that the other person they care about is sitting somewhere comfortable, maybe with a warm cup in your hands, maybe with music playing quietly in the background. And even though you don't know me yet, I find myself hoping for you in the way people do when they care from a distance, when they're not part of someone's life but feel so grateful that the person exists in the first place. I think about you sometimes, think about you a lot of times throughout the day. But it's like I'm noticing that there's like this star up in the night sky. And we don't own stars, we don't get to touch them. We don't necessarily know if they're going to shine that night for us, but when you see it, you're just so glad it's there. And sometimes when the night's quiet enough, I imagine that star is moving quietly, slightly, like a little tiny shift, twinkling like it's acknowledging that someone noticed it. And it reminds me, when I feel far, I should watch the stars. And it feels a little like that, like me watching the sky, you somewhere under the same one, both of us looking up and asking, what now? That's how my thoughts about you feel. Like small, steady acknowledgments sent up toward a sky where you happen to be. And there's such a strong place in me that believes that our paths will cross eventually, and just hopes for a life spent with you. I don't know how or when or what shape life will have made us by then, but some part of me feels certain, or at least hopeful, that our stories will rhyme in places that we don't know about yet, and it will just feel like home. And right now it feels like it's impossible to unlace my heartstrings from yours. And it feels like you've been written into my sky, my Whitney constellation. I feel that way, strangely, about you, someone I haven't met yet in person. And maybe I'm naive, maybe this is just my hope, being silly and sort of wearing comfortable shoes. But these hopes and these feelings don't rush me, they don't push. They just sort of rest in my heart and my mind. I imagine like a cat sitting in the warmth of the sun, just soaking it up. But I've imagined it so many times, the kind of friendship with you that would start, I'm sure, so simply. that we don't even notice it turning into a life together. And eventually the beauty just overwhelms us. I think about just sitting on a couch, talking together in an unhurried sort of way. We've got time. Sort of that warmth of realizing you're not alone in the room or in the world. Sort of our version of coming home after a long drive. It's been a very long drive, and I'd like to come home to you. And sometimes I picture a fireplace, a nice ordinary one, but a cozy one in a small, quiet room where the two of us can just sit without needing to fill every moment with sound, just sort of knowing what's in each other's hearts already. And I imagine you there just as a presence I'd be so grateful to share space with. And I know that I would see you as the kind of presence that feels, again, like home. Like the light, as at first it's the earth when it's been dark for months. And your presence would be the kind that gently reminds me that things will be good again, even if it was only for a season. And it feels like our fireplace would almost have a voice saying things that we can't find words for yet, but it's just the way I imagine it. And there's something so comforting to me about the idea of a slow beginning, building slowly but well, firmly, not rushing, just letting trust take its natural shape, patiently, inevitably. Because sometimes love is just the time you spend sitting on the edge of the cliff, learning each other's souls. And if that's true, then I think I'm content to imagine us on the edge. Legs dangling, no rush to jump, just learning. And I'm not creating these videos to convince you of anything. This is just me leaving a small light on the porch or by the edge of the path. Certainly not bright enough to blind anybody, but just steady enough that if you ever walk on this path, you'll know someone meant for you to feel safe here. Sometimes we don't need someone to bring back the sun. Sometimes we do just need someone to sit with us in the rain. And maybe this is silly, but sometimes I imagine my light swaying a little bit in the wind, but not going out. It's like a little signal or a steady heartbeat. And this is my way of saying, I don't know if you'll ever see this, my amazing, adorable, sweet Whitney. But if you do ever see this, hear this, I want it to feel gentle in your hands. And I want you to feel deeply appreciated. And I like the idea, though, that kindness doesn't necessarily require recognition. That I can care for you and that my care can exist quietly without necessarily needing a response, at least for now. And I like the idea that someone can wish good things for you even if you don't even know their name. There's something kind of beautiful but melancholy about that. I'm definitely an introvert, definitely a melancholic kind of person, but there's something unselfish, something true about all that. To water the flowers when I know that they, like the rest of us, are equally destined for dust. I guess what I hope most is that these words feel kind if they ever find their way to you. And if you can feel the softness in them, the patience, the meandering, the quiet belief that I have, at least that two people who haven't met could still send something very gentle into each other's futures. Truly caring about each other and blessing each other, even from afar. Hope is found in the way things always rearrange, And somehow, to me, my words feel like part of that rearranging, at least in my heart. There's a lot of mornings when I wake up and the light in the room feels so beautiful. The sunshine, it feels so new. And I think about you and sort of catch myself wishing that you're feeling the same as you wake up. That your window lets in the right kind of sun today, your coffee tastes right, and that your first thought on your mind didn't weigh too much or too heavily on you. And that maybe you remembered, even for a heartbeat, that you are indeed everything you love. And that is truly enough. And in the evenings, sometimes when it feels like the day and the world's finally slowed down enough for me to feel that subtle ache again, the ache for you, it's like a bit of sadness, but mostly a longing for a future I can so easily imagine. but obviously can't quite touch for now. And you're part of that somehow. My sunrise. A light to pull me out of the darkness without you even knowing it. And it's weird and a little vulnerable to admit it so directly in these videos, but I absolutely adore you. And that honest, deep down human way of just knowing you're someone I would treat with so much care. And honestly, you were someone that I would see as a privilege and an honor to be with, to embrace, and to love, if our lives ever moved close enough for all that. And I know that gentle love makes you uneasy, when uneasy love is all you've ever known. But I'd like to go slow enough and gently enough to make the unease go away. And if we ever stand in the same room, I hope my presence would say to you, I am your friend, and you don't need fixing. Sometimes I wonder if you ever feel a quiet tug on your chest without knowing why. As if the universe is sort of gently clearing its throat in the background. And I wonder if that tug is the beginning of two stories that never meant to collide but somehow do. If the biggest fear is that we were meant to be and yet we still missed out on all the ways we were supposed to love each other, then as I think about the future, sometimes in the loosest, kindest sense, I imagine that future where we're laughing together and loving each other day in and day out. And I yearn so much to be someone for you who listens well, who cares so much, cares so deeply, and feels like home. And maybe it'll happen. Maybe somehow life will find a way to weave toward that moment in its own slow, surprising way. And I don't need to know if it will or not. The hope is enough for today. But if it does ever happen, I imagine the beginning would be quiet and overwhelming at the same time, like, where have you been all my life? I do sometimes wonder if you come across these videos, if you might tilt your head a little bit, like something about me felt familiar. Maybe the words or the tone. Maybe you'd look up from your phone or your computer, and after you've heard the videos, and just feel like a tiny spark just started of hearing your favorite song for the first time. That's what I hope for. Just that start by a moment of gentle recognition that I'm here and I care. And if you'll ever have me, I am absolutely all yours. And if we ever talked, like really talked, I would love it to just start slowly, just one soft truth at a time, where we don't realize that we're opening up because it just feels so natural to do it. Or like exhaling after you've held your breath for far too long. And I imagine the first time I heard you laugh in real life at something I said, that I'd want to memorize the sound, just quietly tuck it away like a little gift that didn't belong to me but somehow found its way into my hands. Maybe we both discover so many amazing things about each other that just, again, feel like home. Maybe we'd both discover we like slow mornings. Maybe we'd end up talking about the little things, the kind of details that don't change the world. Although I do aspire very much to change the world, but together just looking at the little details that don't change the world, but just make the day feel brighter and lighter. I'd love to hear about the favorite books you have on your bookshelf. Besides the one you write, of course. But the favorite books you have to read and the place you sit when you're thinking. And the songs you listen to when it's a rainy evening. And I'd want to listen more than I spoke, because your thoughts are the kind of place I'd want to sort of meander through slowly, taking my time. I'd want to notice what matters to you. Although I will say it's an absolute blessing through your videos and your poetry to sort of feel like I'm already finding out so much of what matters to you. But the more that I would spend time with you, I would want you to feel like you're not just being looked at, but that you're truly being seen. And if our paths did ever cross in this way, I'd like to be someone who you know actually sees you. and adores you. And over time, I would imagine that it would be more than easy and more than a wonderful thing to start trusting that space between us as we realize that we don't need to hide anything, that the room is big enough for both of our hearts to stretch out. And maybe, just maybe, you might look at me with that expression people get when they're surprised to feel completely at ease with someone, like they've found the other half of their heart. And I already know I'd feel that way about you. You are made of magic, the kind music and sunsets are composed of. But that's all someday. Tonight is simpler. Tonight is just me sending this out like a quiet wish. A wish that you're safe, that you feel peaceful, that life is kind to you in small and steady ways, that you're surrounded by softness, and that maybe someday, if the universe has a sense of humor or a sense of timing, or just a soft spot for stories that take the long way around, that maybe you'll find these words, or I'll find you, or both. And if all that happens, I hope you'll know that this warmth I'm sending through my videos is meant to feel like a big hug. It's meant to feel very gentle. It's meant to feel very inviting. Sort of the way your songs feel. Like, what are they called? Forget-me-nots. Scattered along the path. But until then, I am someone out there somewhere, hoping you're okay, and sending you love, just in case it ever helps you find your way here. Please feel a big hug from me, Whitney. Sweet dreams. Good night.